Begin with the Kapitel Tilim. Nismal David, the Psalm of David. Adonai Roi Lo Yachzor. V'nespeci Abaseli Am Eminuchas Yanaleni. Hashem is my shepherd. I will not be lacking anything. He lays me down on green pastures. Upon still waters, he leads me. He restores, refreshes my soul, and he leads me in straight paths for the sake of his name. I go in the shade, in the shadow of the valley of the shadow of death, I feel no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your cane, they comfort me. You prepare a table in my presence in front of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Goodness and kindness pursues me all the days of my life. And I dwell in Hashem's house forever and ever. I come to give the final kavod, the final honor to my Tetzio Bas Chaim Yitzchak, to Martha Goldsmith. We give honor to a woman who never sought honor, a woman who was a model of a Jewish faithful mother, faithful daughter, faithful wife, faithful to Hashem and faithful to his people. The Pasuk Micha says the following. The Pasuk Micha says, Higid l'cha Adam ma'toiv. We have told you, man, what is it that's good? And what is it that Hashem asks of you? Kiyim ois mishpat, ois chesed, to do justice, to do kindness, and to go humbly with anava, with humility before Hashem. This is the goal in life, and this is her life story. For she did all this. She was a woman who did mishpat, who did what was the law. Meaning, says the Gemara, to do what is required, to do what is demanded. This means to be a good daughter to your parents, to be a good wife to your husband, to be a good mother to your children and grandchildren. She fulfilled these roles in life faithfully. Needless to say that she took care of her children like a good Jewish mother. But her extent of her devotion to her husband is so far that even lying in her hospital bed, she asked and inquired who's taking care of Herbert. Ahavas chesed, to love kindness. To love kindness. The Pasuk says, Ashrei maskil eldo v'yoim ra yimalteu Hashem. Fortunate is he who understands the poor, who's maskil. Many people do acts of kindness, but it takes a special wisdom. Chachmas isha bonsa besa, the wisdom of a woman who builds her house, the wisdom of an emotional wisdom, someone who understands the needs, someone who understands the qualities of chesed. This is a woman who loved to do chesed. She was a woman who was modest, never made a fanfare. This funeral may have been also more than she would have asked for. The pasuk says, do what is good and straight. Hashem himself is Tovi Yasha Hashem. Alkein Yodor Patoim Badorach. Tovi Yasha, who Kodesh Baruch Hu is described as good and straight. A good-hearted woman, but mostly a woman who was so straight. A straight woman, there was no such thing as falsehood in her. Everything was emes. Everything was true. She demanded it of herself. She demanded it of her children. She leaves behind a wonderful family. She leaves behind a credit to all of Klal Yisrael. Her daughter and her son and her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren will all testify to the greatness of this woman. It's sad. We always have to realize that we don't live forever. At least we don't live in this world. But V'shavti b'veis Hashem li'orach yamim, the pasuk says we live in Hashem's name forever and ever, in Hashem's place forever and ever. The soul continues to live. And she may be a Beilas Yosher on behalf of her family, on behalf of the community, on behalf of Klal Yisrael. Amen. Ken Yiratzon.
Just 1 minute. Last night, I arrived at Fort Lauderdale Airport at about 7:15 for a flight to Chicago, which was delayed and delayed and delayed. And we finally boarded at 12:30. During those 5 hours, I had plenty to think about the events of the day and a lifetime together. And even though when Martha and I went to bed Monday night, there was no thought of any tragedy awaiting us the next day. She was fine. She had one of the best days that she had during this period of a long illness and several hospitalizations. I woke up at 6 o'clock. Martha was up. We spoke for a few minutes. Everything was normal. I went out and I got my newspapers and I was reading for an hour when her caregiver came in and running to me. We can't get her up. She's something wrong. And suddenly something happened in her body which she didn't recover from. But while I was thinking about all of this, it occurred to me, should I, in talking today, emphasize the tragedy of Tuesday or the wonderful life we had for 57 years? 57 years of a wonderful marriage, 100% of fidelity by each of us, raising our families, doing things together, and having good times as well as some unpleasant times. We were very fortunate to be able to retire at an early age. In 1996, I was 60. Martha was 3 years younger. We had retired from the Board of Education. We moved to Florida, and we now had 25 years of retirement with everything that we needed to do, trips to take, cruises, and we had a wonderful life together. And this is what I choose to emphasize today. And it's so difficult to try and manage without her. But she was a wonderful person. And I will always remember all of the good times that we had together. Thank you.
My mother was a special person, someone I was very close with, someone I could and would call to discuss almost anything. She was someone who truly listened when you spoke to her. She had a very clear way of thinking and really understood things and saw them for what they were. I could talk through almost any issue with her. I was very blessed that up until the very end, her mind was sharp as a tack. The past 6 months, she suffered terribly. After developing a serious lung infection and a tear in her esophagus, she endured a 16-week hospitalization, during which time she spent over 3 weeks in the ICU. 2 of those weeks completely sedated on a ventilator. Those weeks when I could neither visit her in the hospital, thank you COVID, nor speak to her at all were the most difficult. I discovered then just how often I relied on calling her to talk about so many things. It was very hard. I truly believed at that time that I had already lost her. After all, even if she woke up, the chances of an 81-year-old having no lasting brain damage from such a situation was highly unlikely. Baruch Hashem, I was wrong. Once all of the meds wore off, it quickly became evident her mind was still fully intact. It was not long before she was totally on top of all the wrong things they were doing in the hospital. And I don't mean she was complaining about things. She was actually spotting all the mistakes that were being made. She was totally telling them what medicine she needed and when. I knew her mind was back one day, really not long after the medicines were wearing off and she was waking up, while we were having a family video call with her, and we were talking about waiting for a call back from a case manager. Even though she still had a trach in her throat, she informed us, maybe she's not working today, it's Good Friday. She had heard them mention that on the television, she pointed that out to us. She was very upset at each Shabbos that she had to spend in the hospital and was very aware when Shavuos was coming, consistently asking me what I was doing for Yontif and who was coming to me for the meals, etc. Her last few days in the final rehab were the beginning of the 9 days. Her big concern then was if they were going to be serving her meat while she was still there. She has had a number of Shabbos at home in the last couple of months, but this past Motzei Shabbos in particular, she happened to mention to me how happy she was to be home and experience a normal Havdalah. While her brain continued to work in excess, her body unfortunately took a severe toll. As someone who had already been greatly struggling to walk due to neuropathy, her entire body became seriously deconditioned. For many weeks in the hospital, she could barely so much as turn or shift in her bed. She worked hard with her physical and occupational therapists in rehab to make improvements, but her body never fully recovered, and with that, neither did her spirit. She was very brought down by her new lifestyle and struggled a lot. As hard as this all was on her, it has been equally hard on my father. Theirs was a very strong marriage, built on equal love and respect on both sides. While my father consistently worried about her being all alone in hospitals, she constantly worried about him being all alone at home. My brother and I each spent time in Florida with him, but she still worried, and she would continuously remind him of things he needed to do and coach him on basic homemaking skills from her bed. It was extremely touching for me to see how much she worried about him while she was dealing with so much herself. But in general, she was never a selfish person. She always had others' best interest in mind and did not focus on herself. Even throughout this entire illness, she consistently asked me detailed questions regarding Lenny, all of my girls, my sons-in-law, and each grandchild. She kept tabs on each one's jobs and school and camp. Nothing gave her greater pleasure in life than receiving photos and videos of my kids and grandkids. She relished those and would watch them over and over and over again. She would remember every milestone that passed with each one of them, and if I did not immediately send her the pictures, she would ask for them. She understood her grandchildren and great-grandchildren to an extreme. She knew their personalities perfectly. Last week, while she was hospitalized once more, this time with a case of breakthrough COVID, and she remained trapped in the hospital for a number of extra days while we struggled to find an agency that would provide caregivers in a home with recovering COVID. Her big worry was that they would not be able to get birthday cards to send with checks for Lenny and Tehila, who both had birthdays this past week. But honestly, more than the cards and the checks that arrived at each birthday, my kids knew what to expect, and they eagerly anticipated the famous happy birthday phone call that always included both of my parents singing happy birthday in their very jolly voices. My granddaughter Tehila still had the privilege of receiving such a phone call just this past Sunday as she celebrated her 6th birthday. It is going to be hard going forward from here. Her absence will be sorely missed. While she had been in and out of hospitals a number of times these past many months, and she struggled and suffered a lot, the end came very quickly and unexpectedly. When I spoke to her after landing back in Chicago on Monday evening, she sounded really good. She told me she had had a good day. She had done her exercises the new physical therapist had prescribed for her, had occupational therapy, and she even went outside for a walk with her caregiver. It had been the first time she was outside in I don't know how many months. She told me it was the first time she had felt the sun on her in so very, very long, and it felt so good. But Tuesday morning, almost in the blink of an eye, she was gone. May Hashem please give strength to my father to continue on in good health in her absence, and may her memory live on in the minds of the whole family for many years to come.
On behalf of, speaking on behalf of all the granddaughters, grandson-in-laws, and great-grandchildren, we got together and tried the best we could to come up with, obviously I have a shorter time, but my wife and her sisters, all the memories that they remember and how best we could describe it, they could describe it. And when we thought about it, all the stories came down to one main theme, which was the little things, and that Grandma was the type of person that didn't miss a detail. As Mommy just said, on Sunday, my daughter's birthday, there was no way she was going to miss, no matter how she was feeling, she wasn't going to miss the opportunity to make that phone call. And when she had heard about my daughter starting first grade this year, and that my daughter was very upset because this is the first time she's going to have to wear a uniform in school and she can't wear what she wants. So she told my wife to send her some extra money to buy her a nice Shabbos outfit for when she could wear what she wants. And it was that little detail, something that most people don't notice. When my kids would come and visit, the fact that there were graham crackers in the closet, which they don't think twice about. But when she knew they were coming, she would make sure to have something for them. And my niece, when she went to visit them in Florida, also, despite everything she was going through, she made sure that she had the snacks that she liked and the toys that she liked ready for her to come down. Because every little detail to her made a difference. And something that you can, when you talk about a person, one thing is you see what comes out from that person. And I know my mother-in-law and my uncle, both of them, I can think of my mother-in-law, every event we've ever had, every last detail is always taken care of and thought of because I think that's something she got from her mother, that every little thing makes a difference. The little things matter. And I've heard my uncle Lane is a Balkore, and you're not going to hear a mistake. A lot of Balei Kriya might think that one trup is off or one thing is off, but I've never, in the times we've spent Pesach together, and I've heard him Lane, and it's those little things that make up a big picture, as my father-in-law likes to say, that every detail. And my wife remembers, even getting a call, not just for her birthday, every half birthday, she would get a half birthday cake. Because that little detail, those little things matter. Those little things make a big difference. And as something Rabbi Twerski said also stuck out, is that she was somebody that was very patient and not looking for much. I remember whenever we would visit them in Florida, they would take us to their favorite restaurant. And it would sometimes take 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. And we were the only people in the restaurant. And she wouldn't complain. You would sit and you wait. It'll come when it comes. And she was happy to have us and talk to us and be around us. And I just hope that me and my wife and my brothers-in-law, sisters-in-laws, and our kids can be able to bring her nachas and be able to be a schos for her.
Okay, I wasn't scheduled to speak. I got boosted off the roster, but I'm going to say a few words just for the sake of my father and my wife. And assuming the rain is not here yet, I figured I have a few more minutes and we can all indulge just for a couple more minutes. People that know me, I guess, know me also that I sort of look at issues and kind of distill it down to just a couple of things, and I think that's what I want to do with my mother-in-law. There's certain references that were made today. I happen to have been going over the Parsha this week, and there's something just at the end of the Parsha which was really very appropriate, and I thought about it, and I'm going to take it out because I actually highlighted it. But as Moshe stands, before Bnei Yisrael, in Pasuk Gimel it says, "V'lo nasan Hashem lachem leiv ladas v'einayim liros v'oznayim lishmoa ad hayom hazeh." Hashem did not give you a heart to know, or eyes to see, or ears to hear until this day. Life moves very fast. We all get caught up in various things. And I sort of thought about this pasuk and said, in a certain sense, this is that opportunity. You just stop for a moment and you reflect back on what a person was, what their contribution was. Hashem blessed everybody with a certain talent. The trick is to take that talent and be Mekadosh Hashem and do what you can. So to distill down all the accolades, at least a couple of the accolades my mother-in-law had, they were referred to a little bit earlier. First and foremost, it talks about the detail, and the detail, she had for everything, certainly with her daughter, kids, the grandkids. My nature is to listen to something quickly, solve the problem quickly, move on quickly. My wife has a trait of her mother, which is to sit, understand the problem. It's not always problem solving, it's also compassion. And what I'm trying to say is that, to distill down what she was, is that she cared and understood what the recipient wanted. We all tend to want to do chesed, we all tend to want to do things for other people, and sometimes, maybe unconsciously, we try and do things a little bit for what we want, and we don't understand maybe exactly what the recipient wants. With my mother-in-law, it was the exact opposite. She could figure out what the person needed. What one person needs, not another person needs, and that person is unique from that person, as that person is unique from that person. That's a wonderful quality that it's hard to achieve. She achieved it. She passed that on certainly to my wife, and to our kids, and God willing, our grandkids as well. And I think maybe all of us, if we can emulate that, I think that would take and continue her aliyas neshama through this year and many years to come. And so She certainly had, you know, a heart of gold. She certainly didn't look for accolades, but sometimes, you know, the people that seek the honor the least are the ones you truly honor.
What about the Kiddushim? Should we do Kiddushim after the Kvura? Elmal Rachmim, Shachim Baim Roimim, Hansei Menuch, Amnuchain Al Kanfei Ashchina, B'Malus Kadoshim, Etahirin Kazer, Kiem Azirim. Es Nishmas Maitet Cyril Bas, Chaim Yitzhak, Shalach Shalai Lama. Chaim Yitzhak HaKohen, Shalach Shalai Lama, Baruch, Shemenei Mishpachtu Yitin Stoka, Balas Kos Nishmasa, V'gan Eden Tehem, Menuchasa, Lachem Al Rachamim, Yastirech B'Sesek, Meipov V'Yadamim, V'Yisrael, Mitzvah Chaim is Nishmasa, Adonach Nachlasa, V'Senuach B'Shalom Al Mishkata, V'Noim Ad, Amen.
I'll get it. Say the bracha. Say the bracha. Baruch atah.
Very nice. Okay. never seen it before. I bought it. Yeah.
I have one of it. You don't want to take it?
I'm okay. Well, what you'll tell me what I don't know what time it is. I take the kids to school early, so I'm early. You know, he would go at night. Denise said, you know, they get up very early in their house. I just have to warn you, we get up very early.
School, or do they just?
I think their families go to bed early. We get up very early. Sarah Leah, the nicest person in the world.
In the world?
Yeah. No. Yeah. She's amazing.
This is going to be a love that.
Yeah. No. She's the best partner. So. Yeah. She's here also.
She's always been a great girl. She's a little. First time in 50 years. She didn't expect that first time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I haven't been there.
Okay, you can go wherever you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice cool day. Usually, there's a lot of driving back and forth. We're going back
And
to Valley Beach Way tomorrow. And then we're in yeah, next week.
And then the week after.
5 days later.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Of course, I haven't. It's my sister-in-law. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we really saw that. And especially
Why are there so many mosquitoes here? Is it because it's supposed to rain, or usually comes up before it rains?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to do your body scan because I'm gonna see if it is exploding, and so I have to know that I don't. I would have done a shuttle, but it looked like there were no women who did it. So
I know.
I've never seen that before, so I wasn't gonna be the first. Sorry. All the girls. Entire girls. Yeah.
Lower
Yeah, all the girls. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I know. That kind of surprised me.
Yeah. Because he's normally very emotional. Yeah.
Yes, and he
Yeah.
spoke at Nina's Shabbat, and he's an emotional man, and
Yeah.
it totally fall apart, but he can't help it. Yeah. Yeah. They reach like in New York, public school, and they were giving them the Oh, yeah, okay. They didn't do what they were working on. Yes. Okay, I'll call you. I'll call you back. Okay. You know what? There's so many that okay, I'll call you. I'll let you know. You want a meal? Yeah, we met
Oh, you did.
last
Oh,
night.
you did.
She was gonna okay, right, but we're gonna get it together somehow because that's yeah. So if you wanna whatever you want, if you wanna okay, whatever you wanna do. Okay. Okay, I'll let you know. Oh, you mean okay, during no, I worked
Well, so you taught for years.
until Jamie was in sixth grade. Then I was out. I worked for a business. I worked for an actual office. I did a bunch of stuff. Yeah, water. Yeah, you want another water?
Yeah. Oh, you got cold. You got cold.
I never saw water in the
I've never.
Looks like milk. That's what it looks like. It's cute. Shabbos lunch. I was going to do it, but she's going to take care of Shabbos lunch. So be in touch with her or what. So she'll buy.
What are you doing? The rest
I'm just getting everything together. I did today. And they come home now. So I have everything in the house ready for them. I'm going to go there and get them. So
can you put me in, count me in on that? I'm always going for Shabbos. Yeah.
We're going to say Tziddik Hadin now. You say along with me.
Thank you.
Hatzur Tamim Pa'alo Kichol Derachav Mishpat. Ele Emunah Ve'ein Avel. Sadik V'yasher Hu. Hatzur Tamim B'chol Pa'al Mi'amim Lo Ma'tifo. Hashalit Mato U'V'mal. Memis U'Mechaya Marid Sha'ol V'Yoal. Hatzur Tamim B'chol Maseh. Miyomer Elov Matase, Oimer V'Yoser, Chesed Chinom Lanu Sase, V'Schus HaNekad Kaser, Hakshivo V'Yaseh, Tzadik B'chol Derachov, Atzur Tamim, Erech Apayim Umolei Rachamim, Chamolno V'Chusno Al Obas Uvanim, Kilucho Adoin Aslichois V'Rachamim, Tzadik Ato Adonai L'Hamis V'Hakyois, Asher biyotcho pikdoin kol ruchois. Cholila lecha zichronenu limchois. V'yiyu no einecho berachmim aleinu pekuchois. Kilecha odoin harachamim v'haslichois. Odom im ben shana yichya, v'ay elef shanim yichya. Ma yisun loy, kilo hoyo yiyya. Baruch daino emes, memis umechaya. Baruch hu, ki emes dinoi. U'mishoyte ta'kol v'einoi. U'mishalom li Adam cheshbonoi v'dinoi, v'hakol lishmoi hodoyo yitenu. Yadanu Adonai ki tzedek mishpatecho, tzitztak b'dvarecho, v'sizkeh b'shavtecho, ואין להרר אחר מידס שבתך, צדק אתה אדוני ביושר משפטך. דיין אמס, שופט צדק ואמס, ברוך דיין או אמס, שכל משפטיו צדק ואמס. נפש כל חי ביודך, צדק מלא ימינך ביודך. רחם על פליטה סוין יודך, וסוין אל המלך חרף יודך. גדול הוא עצו ורב הוא עלילי לו. עלילי שאינך בגוחס על כל דחי בני אדם לא סייס, לאיש כדרכו וחברים על עולו. להגיד כי יושר אדוני צורי ולא יבלוס בוי. אדוני נוסן, אדוני לקח, יהי שם אדוני מבורך. ורחי מכפר אבוים ולא ישחיס, ויהי בלהושב אפו, ולא יורד כל חמוסו. זה קדש. אמן. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbi Mevorach V'Olam V'Olmei Omayo. Beautiful. Amen. 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 Okay. I'm asking you. You tell me. What do you make? One shirt for the men, one shirt for the women. It depends on this. I prefer one.
So we'll do. We can perform our shura away from the grave so the medium waters can work through. So we could have one shura for the women and one for the men. And then the men will walk to the men and then the women will walk to the women.